It has been 25 years in the making, and you'll see it on Channel 9 in just minutes.
The Beatles anthology, the definitive story of the band that changed popular music forever. It's a story that began in the industrial port city of Liverpool, England, and that's where I traveled recently to trace the band's roots. And they do love their Beatles in Liverpool. But don't expect to find a Beatles theme park. In fact, you really have to know where to look, beginning off a small pedestrian plaza down a narrow alleyway. How different is this from 30 years ago?
It's quite different now in the sense a lot of it's been modernized. And
Ray Johnson is a Liverpool native, a musician himself, a tour guide, and he knows his Beatles.
We've been involved in the Beatle industry 13 years now, and we've seen it grow. And I think really what rekindled the flame, if you like, was the death of John Lennon.
Fans come from all over the world, and they're drawn to narrow, brick-paved Matthew Street, where the Beatles appeared nearly 300 times in the early 60s.
The Grapes is quite famous, so in between performances, the Beatles used to nip out and go in here for a drink. And when they were late on stage going back, if they wanted to find the four lads, they could always be found in here having a drink, you know.
And this is the Cavern Club, probably the most important stop for any Beatles fan making the pilgrimage to Liverpool. Wait till you see this place at night. As every Beatles fan knows, it was at the Cavern that the Beatles played all those concert dates and started attracting serious attention in Liverpool. But there is Beatles history all over the city. The house on Minlove Avenue where John lived with his Aunt Mimi. The church where Paul sang as a choir boy. Ringo lived in this modest house, now boarded up. And there is this church, St. Peter's in Woolton Village, the very spot where John Lennon first met Paul McCartney.
And to a lot of people, the birthplace of the Beatles, when you think about it, you know, it does make a lot of sense. This is really where it all started to develop from.
In the churchyard, there is a gravestone marked Eleanor Rigby, but the Beatles always said that was just a coincidence.
This is the gates of Strawberry Field. Strawberry Field, of course, made famous by the song of the same title. This is the place where John spent a great deal of his early childhood. Very, very happy memories for John.
It's all very low-key, no plaques, no hoopla, but the fans know these places. And even after all these years, the music of the Fab Four still reverberates at the Cavern Club on Matthew Street. That's one thing that hasn't changed in the birthplace of the Beatles. Be sure to stay tuned for part 1 of the Beatles anthology here on Channel 9 in just a few minutes.